rolling back segregation. What are we going to do?
Not one goddamn thing. Not one goddamn thing. I speak for myself, just my personal opinion, but I've been speaking about this and I spoke to leaders, and everybody I speak to say it's probably going to be the best thing that ever can happen to black people. A mandate for us to unite without consumption power. We got the greatest consumption power in the world, and you going to mandate us to unite? Yeah. Ever since we integrated, our economic state has been worse. Our families have been torn apart. And when we made a decision to chose that, we got what we got now. And everybody that I see, that's why you don't hear no outcry from black people about this new executive order about segregation. I don't think we give a damn about it. I know I certainly don't. I ain't for it. I ain't pushing for it, but I ain't to get it. Correct me, tell me if I'm wrong in the comments.
One of the biggest things that I realized that nobody's talking about when it comes to segregation is that we don't mind it. It's white people that got the problem. Because when y'all realize that we literally don't need y'all get mad. We've created thousands of thriving black cities and countries. Because we can do it without y'all just don't get it. Y'all need to be all up in our space and all up in our mix. For what reason? Because when I've gone to primarily white spaces, I'm sorry, but I'm not impressed. But y'all can't say the same for us. Like, there's been over 100 massacres on black cities and towns simply because y'all are outraged that we can thrive, that we can come together, and that we can do things no matter what the circumstances are. Because last time I checked, it's white people that mainly benefit from government assistance. But y'all love to say it's us, don't y'all? But instead, we can take the bare minimum and create enormous things. Can you not do the same? I guess not, without the government's help.
They're bringing back segregation because they know a world without black and brown people is coming, and it terrifies them. Trump just rolled back protections that ban segregated facilities for federal contractors, and the internet's acting shook. But me, I'm not surprised, clearly. This is what desperate power looks like. This isn't about restoring order or merit-based hires. This is a tantrum from an almost 80-year-old man. White supremacy is in its flop era, and it's grasping at any old trick it can find. Segregation? Really? I feel like that's how we know they're scared. Because let's be real, black folks, we are unbothered. You can't shake people that have been surviving state-sanctioned violence since the dawn of time. We've had underfunded schools, medical negligence, and cultural erasure since day one. We don't panic when the system turns on us. We expect it. We don't fold. We multiply. We turn every block into a blueprint, every struggle into a strategy, and every threat into a legacy. As I said in my pinned video, a world without black and brown people is coming. Not because we're disappearing, because we're divesting. From their politics, from their corporations, their watered down narratives, their respectability games, we want no parts. We've seen what happens when we show up and we make America run, but this time we're choosing to build our own instead. And that's what scares them, not the loss of power, but the loss of relevance. Because without our culture, our labor, our innovation, our souls, what is America really? Let them scramble. Let them cling to segregation like it's going to save them. We've already moved on. And when that world without us fully arrives, they're going to finally understand what unbothered really looks like.
When people talk about segregation, there is an assumption baked into this conversation that black people should be afraid. But black people are not afraid because they have gone through the worst since slavery in America. You see, segregation was enforced by law called the Jim Crow laws in 1896, where black Americans were legally separated from white Americans until the civil rights movement in the 1950s to 1960s that dismantled the legal segregation. So you see, that was about 70 years of segregation, and black people endured it, and they came out standing, built communities, culture, businesses, and movements that shape America until today. So let's get to see more reactions, then I'll come back with more commentary, all right? Let's dive into it.
So let's talk about segregation, since that is the buzzword of the week. I saw a video of a YT lady saying, oh my God, they're trying to bring back segregation. What are we going to do about it? First of all, sweetie, who is we? And second of all, the 92 percenters and the 87 percenters, we're not opposed to that coming back, because guess what happens doing segregation for the black community? The black community thrives. Black Wall Street, Arshkaville, Rosewood, Seneca Village. That is until y'all get enraged because you're not doing well. And then y'all come and try to burn it down and flood it out. But I digress. But segregation would force the $1 trillion spend annually to stay within the black community. And imagine what can happen if that money stayed in the black community. And let's talk about segregation for a moment. Imagine you are a black farmer and your crop is cotton and you're not being paid a fair price for your crop. So you and the other black farmers get together to try to demand they pay you a fair price for your crop. The white walkers get so enraged because how dare you niggas demand us pay you a fair price that they then commence to try to unalive the entire town with the help of the military. It happened in 1919 in Elaine, Arkansas. It was called the Elaine Massacre. It was recorded in the history books as one of the most racially charged massacres in the United States. And y'all wonder why we welcome segregation back? We good either way, because guess what we're going to do? Black folks always make a way out of nothing. We just want y'all to leave us alone when it does happen.
So segregation is on the table. Dude, if I don't know how to read the room was a person, you'd get the crown. We are not checking for you and your ilk. We're just not. But for some reason, you can't seem to leave us alone. We as a people have been on our own and dependent on each other for how many? Just a few hundred years. That's all. So we're good with that. But you can't stand that. Even when we're trying to just do our thing, wanting to be respected and wanting to just go about our day, a Kevin or Karen has to pop up and try to throw a monkey wrench in it. We can barely post a video that says it's a black-owned business without a Karen or a Kevin. Well, how would you feel if a white person would have said? We don't have to feel. We live it every single day. Every single day. So the fact that you don't know how to read the room, the fact that you have peripheral, narrow-minded, closed-minded vision is not our fault. And when I tell you I'm one of the 92%, okay? If that don't tell you how much we want to be left alone, I don't know what will. So, sir, if you push it through, fine. Like I said, it'll affect you more than us because we're cool with it. We as a people know how to read a room. We walk in, we can feel the energy. We can feel the body movement. We read body language. We're not crazy. And I'm not trying to force anyone to take my dollars. I'm fine with that. But it seems to bother you. So, hey, if you're pushing for it, we're all for it. The majority of black people, this is a topic we discuss all the time. Separate but equal. Yeah, you go around, my people built this country. Your people supervised my people who did the physical manual labor for free. So yeah, you can miss me with that. You can erase it and snatch it out of all the books you want. But we know our history and that'll never change. So give us what we're due and leave us alone. But you can't. You can't help yourself. You just have to know what we're doing. And me personally, I'm cool. I'm cool with any and everybody. You cool with me, I'm cool with you until you give me a reason not to. And hey, ignoring you, that's like breathing to me. Won't even be a problem. I worked at this one company, older white woman. She was like, the 1950s, such good times. Well, not so much for your people, but such good times. And yeah, wasn't offended at all because they missed those days before civil rights. But the climate has changed. And so, yeah, knock yourself out. But we as black people will not be offended. But you guys just, you can't handle it. So yeah, if you push it through, if it goes through, nothing shocks me anymore. Absolutely nothing about what could happen, what could be turned back, what could be, reverse, roll back, whatever you want to call it. None of that would shock me. But yeah, the 8% of black women that voted for you, yeah, your feelings gonna get hurt too, honey. You're gonna get thrown in the mix. But yeah, knock yourself out. Let's see how this turns out for you. For us, it'll just be another day, another good morning. How you doing? And let's get to work.
Now they trying to hit me with I bet you look stupid now for voting for Donald Trump. He's bringing back segregation. First off, segregation never left. You can check your local neighborhood, local school, local church. Segregation is here in America, and it is never, ever, 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 ever going nowhere. Imagine if all black businesses just say, okay, shop black only, black people. That's a form of segregation. You might not like it, but it is a form of segregation. But now they trying to say that Trump is bringing it back. That's nonsense. NPR says here the Trump administration cut a clause from the federal contracting rules that have been on the books since the 1960s. Companies are no longer explicitly prohibited from having segregated facilities. So that means I can own a business right now, create a water fountain and say, this water fountain right here is for black folks only. That water fountain is for white folks only. That is not what it's saying. That's not what it's saying, because I'm reading the memo right here. The memo explicitly says contractors are still covered by existing United States laws on civil rights / non-discrimination. These laws apply whether or not the company is a government contractor. So that means that these companies cannot be racist. At the end of the day, no matter what policy Trump rolled back, you are still protected by state laws, and there are other laws like Title VII or the Civil Rights Act that Martin Luther King walked for. We done had this discussion already. You are protected. A lot of these laws are redundant, and as Trump rolls them back, the news is going to put it in that liberal propaganda machine and say some nonsense like, oh, he's bringing back segregation. No, he is not. I need y'all to read that memo.
So Trump bringing back segregation? We don't give a fuck. Don't know. Trump has basically passed a law where now contractors can say, this is the white only fountain, this is the black only fountain, that colored fountain, this is the colored bathroom, this is the white only bathroom. Now I know they finna have a field day with this in the South immediately. I'm in the Midwest, so we might not see that too soon just yet, but I'm sure it's gonna come. But I just want to be the one to first, let me talk to my black people real quick. Black people, we don't give a fuck still. And I want to talk to y'all real quick, because see, when they decide to bring back whites only, colors only, all of that, I'm gonna tell y'all this. One thing we need to do is make sure we turn our shit up. We need to get our shit in order. We need to make sure that we are supporting black only businesses. We are making it a necessity to make sure when they do bring this shit back, you see who want to play this game and make sure you play that shit better than them. We're the reason why a lot of these motherfucking corporations are even functioning. So to think that they want us to react so bad, like we are trying to learn motherfucking where them fans at, and here y'all come trying to tell us what motherfucking water fountain we need to be drinking out of. Like, Trump, please find something else to fucking do. If you think this finna get us in the street, I'm gonna have to tell my come in real quick. It's not going to work, okay? If anything, this is the best thing that has happened yet, because I would love to go to a color only bathroom, a color only water fountain, because I'll just be 100 with y'all. Some of y'all nasty as fuck. So to say that we are finna go back into segregation, like what y'all gonna do when we lit as fuck over here and y'all born as fuck over there? Y'all don't know what we doing. Y'all ain't doing shit. So to segregate anything is just the craziest shit ever, but I'm not surprised. We're not about to use this as a situation to make us feel like, oh, we're scared. Well, no. Protect yourself. Get your family in order. Black people, get your family in order. Start to really be more mindful of the money you're spending. Invest your money, because the only thing they got up on us right now is knowing how money works. Knowing how to invest that money to make that money make money for them. We need to spend our time focused on that. We're not getting in the streets marching. We're going to get in them books and understand credit, understand investments, understand stock, understand how to, we're going to do that. Because eventually what's happening is we got to get on the other side. See, they know how to build businesses and use government money to basically keep themselves afloat. We don't yet. So let's learn that. All that said, to all of the people who are not black and you are like trying to fight for this and you really want to see a change, more power to you. But I'm gonna tell y'all like this: we happy y'all care, because we don't give a fuck. And if you a black person that's finding yourself starting to care, please don't. This is your reminder to sit this shit out, because at the end of the day, it don't matter what we do, it don't matter what we say. The only thing they want to do is get us in a position where they can off us and then make it seem like this is the reason why they did A, B, C, D. But we finna just go ahead and learn what the motherfucking fans at and continue to mind our business like we've been doing. Hello, bye.
Then people want us to be mad so bad. I don't know, segregation being bad don't sound too bad to me. You mean to tell me I don't have to guess if my mac and cheese got raisins in it or not? You mean to tell me when I walk into a bathroom it's going to be clean with R&B playing? You mean to tell me I get to pick the best restaurants to go to? I don't have to guess. Bro, we're about to be living like the kings and queens that we are, and I feel like this is going to backfire real bad. Because realistically, we make everything. Nobody's gonna want to go to the other side. Even the people that aren't on that side but are you know, the ones with common sense, they're gonna be so mad. Gonna be on one side with the boring cookout and then looking at the other side with our cookout. And they're gonna be looking like, why did y'all do this? Me personally, I feel like segregation being back is just grounds for we're about to take over everything. You know what? I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I really can't, because that sounds lit.
You know, black people really don't give a shit if they can't be around white people, right? Like, you think that black people give a flying fuck that you're not gonna let them into your racist ass place? Because I promise you they don't. What's really gonna suck is not being able to go into black spaces like that. That's gonna suck for white people who enjoy things that are cool and fun. That part's really gonna suck. But like, we deserve to be kicked out. Okay?
This app about to go away, so I'm gonna say what I gotta say. So I just watched a really great video by this black woman who was talking about how segregation in today's world is really not about black people, it's about white people. And I'm not gonna summarize her video, but I will talk about something that recently came up in real life in conversation. And I was in a conversation with people that were half black, half white. Now, full disclosure, I am black and Chinese. My entire life, though, I have been identified as a black woman to society. Well, really an Oreo, but that's a conversation from a totally different video. But in talking about this whole segregation in 2025 topic, they were like, oh, you know, people, the internet is saying that segregation is a good thing and that, you know, it's been good for the black community. And I didn't say anything. I was just silent. But in the video, the person that I tagged, she talked a lot about how white people specifically have benefited from integration, because even though we were supposed to be promised separate and equal, or, you know, together and equal, it has not been equal for black people. Black people still are not paid the same as white counterparts. Black people still are not afforded the same opportunities, especially since the rollback of the affirmative action. Black people are still at the hands of police brutality. Like, it really hasn't done like a huge thing. However, with white people being in close proximity to black people and minorities in general, they have been afforded the opportunity to be educated on how their ancestors have behaved both currently and previously in history. And it's because of that proximity of white people to minorities, specifically black people, that they have been able to learn, grow, flourish, and with apps like TikTok have been able to change the overall perception of history, specifically in the United States. Now let's get back to the conversation that I was having in real life. So I was having a really hard time of understanding where these people were coming from, the people that were half white, half black. Because as someone who is mixed, right, black and Chinese, the one drop rule has applied to my life through and through. In fact, a lot of people have actually denied that I am Chinese, even though I know my heritage and where I come from, at least that part of my family. So what I asked in that conversation was, well, if you had to choose, would you go with your black family or your white family? And they both said I would go with my black family. And I said, why? And they said, well, they're just a lot more fun. Like, I feel like I have community. I feel like I have people that really like stick beside me. And what I really think it boils down to is community, because minorities have been forced to assemble their own communities because of oppression, because of things like segregation. And in doing so, are able to support their own people regardless of, you know, what those people look like, because of the way they have been oppressed in the past. Which is why you see today a lot of black people online are like, oh, I don't care if we're segregated or whatever. But a lot of white people are like, no, we can't do this, because they would in fact lose their community. The best way that I can think to put this in perspective for people who just aren't getting it is when we look at men and women. So right now, men are going through this loneliness epidemic, right? Where a lot of women just don't want to get married. They're not really interested in dating. They are buying their own homes. They're working their own jobs. They're making, you know, their multiple six-figure salaries, whatever. They have their own businesses. They can have their own bank accounts without men. They can do whatever without men. So women are like, why would I opt to be in a relationship with a man when I can just do bad all by myself? When you look at men who typically don't have as flourishing of a community or as well-rounded of a community as women do, right? Relationships typically aren't that deep with other men. They also aren't really emotionally available with other men, or have like different opportunities where they can feel like they can be emotionally safe with other people. When they are in relationships, they seek a lot of emotional support from women because they don't have that in other aspects of their life. So the fact that women are going off and doing their own thing and don't give a damn about men, it's really hurting the men, and the men are like, no, we don't want this. But if men would actually, be more emotionally available with their friends, go to therapy, talk about their feelings, have, celebrations and birthday parties and just deeper friendships and connections and relationships like women do, then they wouldn't really be bothered if women were doing all the things that we're already doing on our own. It's patriarchal beliefs that are holding men back from living their best lives, because now that women are separate and mostly kind of ish equal, depending on who you're talking to, we can go off and do our own thing and live our best lives. Similarly, Black people have their own community, have their own restaurants, banks, shops, businesses, influencers, all of it, right? So white people who don't really have the same community, who don't have the same deep connections, don't have the same village of people to really be behind them in their own culture and their own lives, are going to be missing out because they don't have the support from minorities, aka Black people in this case. In that scenario, it's white supremacy, which hint is very closely related, if not cousins, to patriarchy, because if white people actually had their own communities where they were flourishing and it didn't really need to rely on minorities, and they could be fine all by themselves. In case you needed yet another example of how white people don't really have community, is since January 15th, Inauguration Day, I have not seen a single viral protest video or slew of videos. I haven't seen a single one. I'm on the internet every single day, haven't seen one. Why? Because they aren't out there. They're not protesting. There's no community. There's no organization. There's no one to really spearhead the movement. Who typically spearheads all the activism and protests and any civil rights related movements? Black people. While I still have you here, I would like to also point out that because white people don't have these big, flourishing, supportive communities like other minorities do, they really grasp hold of their communities in real life, so like their families and, their people that they hang out with at the country clubs, et cetera, et cetera. So when things like a presidential election happens and people find out that their other half of their family actually voted for someone that they don't support, it is actually less likely that they're going to leave that family, because it's literally the only semblance of community they have that does not involve minorities.
Segregation was violent, destructive, and deeply unjust. It stole opportunity, safety, wealth, and life itself. But Black people endured it anyway. Black Americans were born in a system that never intended to protect them. From slavery to the Jim Crow, protection was never guaranteed by the state. It was guaranteed by the community itself. So even after being stripped of language, family, land, Black Americans, they still created culture, faith systems, foodways, mutual care networks, and built towns from scratch. Places like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Rosewood, Bronzeville, and Jackson Ward didn't happen because conditions were unfair. They happened because Black people understood that they may not be given space, but they know how to create it. And when those places became successful, they were destroyed by mobs, by policy, or by the state violence. But that lesson was never lost. It taught generations that progress never guaranteed protection. So Black Americans have lived version of separation until today. Think about underfunded schools, overpolicing and the state violence, redlining and house discrimination, healthcare neglect, and economic exclusion. So all of this is familiar to them. For over a century, Black Americans learned that they have had to be self-reliant by necessity. Our churches were not just places of worship. They were banks, meeting halls, schools, and emergency shelters. Barbershop and salons were not just businesses. They were information hubs and safe places. Neighbors did not just socialize. They protected each other because no one else would. They learned how to make something out of nothing because there was no alternative. And that skill was passed down into generations. That's why fear isn't the loudest reaction. Preparation is. Fear works best on people who believe that the system has always protected them. But for a community that never fully trusted the system to begin with, fear doesn't land the same way. Finally, there is also pride, not in suffering, but in endurance. Pride in ancestors who survived slavery, pride in elders who endured Jim Crow, Our pride in parents who navigated hostile schools and workplaces, and pride in a lineage that has always adapted. So when you see calm, where panic was expected, it's not because history is forgotten. It is because history is remembered clearly. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.